Good afternoon. The Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism is very happy to host another roundtable with civil society groups pushing for electoral reforms. And thank you for coming, carving some time from your very, very busy schedules. We had a similar roundtable last year po, where we gathered, number one, to assess what happened in the May 2022 elections. And number two, we identified priority tasks for government, specifically Congress and Commission on Elections, to improve the conduct of elections. It's been 14 months since that last roundtable, and you yourselves had your own roundtables, discussions on very important issues such as abuse of state resources, vote buying, and now we're all busy preparing the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections on October 30. That's next month. But even as everyone is preparing for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections, everyone's doing a lot of work already for the 2025 election. So we wanted to gather everyone today before all the madness of the Barangay elections to see where we are in terms of the reform proposals that we listed last year in our roundtable. Did we move forward in terms of these reform proposals? Or baka may bago, baka may kailangan tayong idagdag po dun sa mga nilista natin na at least 10 na reform proposals. I remember po dun sa immediate concern natin last year, because it was still July, ang immediate concern was to oppose proposals to postpone the barangay and SK elections. But the lawmakers didn't listen, no? So we're having the barangay elections next month. But in the barangay elections next month, we seem to be looking at very bold initiatives on the part of the Commission on Elections in terms of addressing vote buying. We don't know how that will be implemented, but we'd like to know what you think about those proposals, because it appears the COMELEC will be giving a lot of role to the CSOs also. And then for the 2025 elections, you've been very busy attending congressional hearings on proposed measures affecting elections, giving your expert opinions. We've also been watching the COMELEC starting the procurement process for new machines for the 2025 elections. So, ang dami nang nangyayari. The COMELEC is also talking about internet voting for overseas Filipinos by 2025. Siguro at this point, let me summarize the tasks that we listed during our roundtable last year. So, yun nga, it didn't happen, that the barangay and SK elections should not be postponed. But also, you said early preparations for the next polls, improve access of election monitors to COMELEC activities, review laws on vote buying. You also said more inclusive voter registration process, make the Campaign Finance Office a permanent office, review spending limits, pre-election and online campaigning, add an anti-political dynasty provision in the party list law, improve access to candidates, and improve access to information, and amend the law mandating LGUs to provide office spaces to COMELEC field offices. So this was our list during our roundtable last year. Baka po may bago, baka po may update. And of course, there are questions about the processes of the Commission on Elections in the 2022 elections. You've given your opinions about this, but maybe we can talk about it again. And finally, we're not forgetting that the 2025 elections is the first time that the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao will be holding its elections. So punong-puno po lahat. Everyone has a full plate. We want to begin with the opening statements, opening messages of everyone in the round table, and then we'll take it from there po.
Ito, what ails our politics? I think the need for democratic representation, yun ang pinaka-root na unable to deliver true democratic representation. Ang mga foundational dyan, ang una sa amin nakita na yung bagang politics is dirty, parang that's a self-fulfilling prophecy or not prophecy, reality naman yan. It makes politics exclusive kasi ayaw ng mga taong sumali tuloy eh. Diba? So I think that message, when you say politics is dirty and people say, I don't even want to go near it, already communicates the fact that people are arm's length distant, but what it leaves is politics becomes exclusive to those who are already entrenched. Number two, tingin namin yung synchronized elections ba? Synchronous ba yan? Mahirap para sa kandidato. 26 to 36 positions and average of 2.6 candidates per position. How do you sift through that? I mean, ang marketing studies show that if you have too many choices, you actually confuse the voter. It might look easy for us to differentiate mayors, ang mga ganun, but actually, mahirap. So anong effect? Ang effect is you go to ang random mo is popular, yung mga kilala ng pangalan, at kasi hindi na talaga mahirapan yung botante na mag-isip. Pangatlo, yung first past the post na pagpili, ang tingin namin, toxic siya. Kasi ang campaign mismo, talagang tatalunin mo, anong tawag nun, ika-clubber mo, talagang i-defeat mo siya. Hindi mo siya, kumbaga, kalaban mo talaga siya. Anong opposed system or alternative system? Of course, this is, we might not see this might not see the light of day in our situation is proportional representation or even ranked choice voting, right? So hindi siya diretso sa kandidato ang atake. Kung hindi, dahil pinag-uusapan ang platform. Okay. Bilisan ko lang yung mga anong effect ng tatlo. So number one is captive elective positions by family parties. We know that, right? No need to explain that. Ito ay mga barriers to entry, and some of them are also effects of that foundational condition that I just have stated. High cost of participating and getting elected. I don't have a study, but the theory is people make it expensive to participate in an election so that only those with money can participate, or people will no longer participate. Sadya ang barrier talaga siya magastos. Lack of variety of qualified candidates because again these are all systemic. They might seem to be individual but they're operating in concert, right? To provide itong mga dissonance. So lack of variety of qualified candidates because there's a capture of elective positions, parties are not operating. Underrepresented population in Congress. If you follow the Constitution, 1:250 voters per district representative. Our quick review is that if we go by that appropriation or ratio, the number of represented in Congress will be doubled or more than doubled. Non-functioning political parties, no need to go there. Uncontested elections, we found out in 2019 and 2022, about 5% of the elections are uncontested. Isang kandidato lang. And reasons vary. Some are smart. I don't want to go against his candidate because third-termer na siya. Nakabaon na siya. Yung iba, pinag-uusapan, takbo kayo doon, hindi kami mag-field ng kalaban, takbo kami dito, huwag kayo mag-field ng kalaban. Next one is COMELEC is indifferent to competitive elections. I think, in a way, hindi concerned masyado si COMELEC na game na yung elections eh, walang kalaban. Why is it possible? I mean, why is it possible? Of course it's possible, right? But isn't that something that COMELEC should be thinking about? A capture of elective positions. Some members of family parties move to a different municipio within the province para meron silang, doon sila tatakbo. They will establish residency, of course, which qualifies them to become candidates, and then they run. So you are increasing their foothold or capture of elective positions. Dearth of useful election data. Without data, we cannot be more intelligent than we are now. And there's just data that we need to collect, and COMELEC has to put out so that our stakeholders are informed and better able to strategize, including civil society. Lastly is women are underrepresented in politics. From 2010 up to current elections 2022, there are only 20% of the candidates are only 20% of the candidates are women. Ang laking siguro dumating na ang panahon na kailangan na natin itong pagguhin at bigyan ng talagang maayos na pansin. Ang aming suggestion sa COMELEC, kami ni Commissioner Louie, we had the privilege of writing a paper for a policy note for COMELEC and were supported by UNDP. The main purpose there is to draw data from the COMELEC and try to encourage them and help them set up data portals. So 20% women, number of reasons, stereotypical, semiotic violence, misogyny, women are not capable of leading, the definition of leadership is male. Media also, I would say, partly because this is stereotypical, when they ask me male candidates, medyo ang pinag-uusapan business, pero pag babae ang pinag-uusapan, uwi ka dun sa qualifications, ano ang pakay mo, sino ang naiwanan mo sa bahay, yung mga ganun. So those are our statements. Essentially, you have a copy of this one, but we thought of bringing that here in this discussion. Thank you very much.
Yun na lang rin siguro, pareho pa kami naman yon. Ang gusto ko lang idagdag kasi nung huling nagkaroon tayo ng round table, I think what I said was the civil society should come together, get stock of what happened in 2022, and try to come up with common ground towards looking at 2025 and 2028. Kaya yun ang gusto kong tingnan, at least for the upcoming election, saan na yun napunta yung ganong direction. Meron bang initiative among all the various civil society group doing electoral work on a common agenda, or unang-una siguro common perspective? Ano yung pwedeng pwede kasi magkakaiba ng pananaw, ng direction at ng anong tawag natin dito, yung parang specialization in terms of kung anong gusto mong gawin, pero dapat may common vision on how you should look at 2025 and 2026 at 2028, at pwedeng simulan yan dito sa yun, sa civil society. Gusto kong tingnan yon, at yung mga initiative na may mga promising initiative like encouraging the youth to participate in elections. Of all the things that we've described earlier, the only way by which you can, at least look at the long term and make things better is to start decent people at a younger age, para pag pinalitan tayo, mas matitino yung that's a dream, but I think ganun talaga eh. Pag tumagal, yun dapat ang gawin. So yun yung gusto kong tingnan, at least sa SK election, ilan yung nakumbinsing tumakbo na kabataan, matitino.
Sa amin, sa Caritas, sa Episcopal Commission on Social Action, Justice and Peace of the CBCP, recently we talk about transparency in the automated election system. These are some points that we have discussed. Parang, di ba, ang mahalaga kasi sa amin yung transparency so far, no? Peaceful, orderly, and transparent elections. But this time is more of transparency. Una, no chance for voters to witness the counting of the votes. So that's one element that we are concerned about. How we do, paano natin malaman na properly counting yung nangyari? Pangalawa, mahirap gumawa ng protest because wala tayong access to information. Because we don't know what's going on in the counting. More difficult for us to complain or to make a protest. So the question is, how do we assure, or how COMELEC can address this, Especially we realized that well, the area of improvement, for the COMELEC to see on this particular area of people participate, people can see and witness the counting process, to get rid of the doubts, of the voters. So what will be the alternative? yan ang aming tanong. What can be an effective alternative to the existing election system natin? Pangalawa, we are also very concerned. Recently, our bishops highlighted one of the advocacies that we are pushing, that Caritas Philippines is posing, is good governance program. We call it Simbayanihan, Simbahan at Bayan. You can play with the words. And it's not just a program on election. We look at election as just one day, and the rest of the year is about governance. How people can participate actively, how we can address the ailing politics in the Philippines, patronage politics, family dynasty, all this. Now we are looking at the young people. I was sharing before our formal meeting. We initiated already. We talk about the young Davids, which we look at two areas. First, the young people who are now in public service. We need to accompany them para hindi sila malalamon ng sistema. Now we are initiating already. I've been talking to young congressmen and women, brainstorming with them how we can partner. Kasi yung tatlong methods namin sa good governance sa Simbayanan, ugnayan, kalakbayan, bayanihan. So ugnayan is partnership, kalakbayan is accompaniment, and then bayanihan is working together. So that's one. And then in our youth programs, we will now introduce to the young people, politics is a vocation, a noble vocation. Consider it. Consider it. If you're interested to be a politician, to do public service as whatever position, prepare for it. And we will give you the assistance you need, kung hanggang makaya namin. And we are thinking, we set up Caritas Academy in Tagaytay. The bishops there are starting today, are having their executive course. We organize, for the first time we organize for the bishops on servant leadership and pastoral management today. Yan ang topics nila. Cardinal Tagle is there. We invited him to come to share with the bishops. So, ganun ang tinitingnan namin, these two areas. The election itself, how can we improve it in the area of transparency? And now we want to engage in a long-term program to address really tragically yung ating problema sa politics. Thank you po.
Hello, magandang tanghali po ulit sa inyong lahat. So, sa IBP po, particularly the National Center for Legal Aid, unfortunately, hindi po ako yung naka-attend nung you were referring to the FGD nung nakaraang taon. But just to give an update, as far as IBP po is concerned regarding the election activities na pinaparticipate po ng IBP. Well, obviously, yung nakaraan po, we had a partnership with Lente and we conducted several information campaign including election reforms, views of state resources and accessibility of elections, yung checkpoint, gun ban, to name a few of the subjects that we have discussed. No? At the moment po, the present administration of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines entered into a MOA, just to share with everybody po. It's a tripartite agreement between COMELEC, PALS, the Philippine Association of Law Schools, and the IBP. Primarily, ang context po ng MOA na ito is for information campaign din, to assist the COMELEC dun po sa in sharing of the information regarding the election in general. Particularly po yung sa vote buying and vote selling campaign nila. I think it is, I don't know kung familiar na po kayo dun sa Kontrabigay project ng COMELEC. So, we are still in the process of going through the more detailed na participation po ng IBP and CLA. But to my understanding, ang COMELEC po ay magkikreate ng mga tinatawag nilang LAD or yung Legal Assistance Desk. No? And then they're asking for assistance from the IBP for volunteer lawyers to man this LAD. This is during the election, but ang stages po ng participation ng NCLA ay pre-election. So the pre-election po, yun po, napakaganda po na minention ni Father kanina about transparency. Isa po ito sa pwede nating pagbigyan ng pansin, ano po, particularly dun sa mga pagdi-disseminate nga po ng information. This is the pre-election proper. And then during the election, dito naman po papasok nga yung volunteer lawyers together with law students. Kasi under the CLEP program po, which is managed by also by the supervising lawyers, no? Preparation. Siyempre po kami po mga abogado, dyan po kami papasok preparation and documentations na magtutuloy po yan even after the election itself. Ang isa pong nagiging problema lang namin dahil din po doon sa naging partnership namin with Lente, karamihan po kasi talaga hindi natutuloy yung mga pag-file ng cases afterwards. Because number one, yun pong mga nagbibigay ng information, they're not willing to sign or execute affidavits or come forward. I remember, nagkaroon po kami sa National Office, no? Nag-create kami doon ng parang assistance, online assistance. So they would give us information about kung ano-anong mga election violations na witness nila. So we will document them. Pero pagka po nandun na kami sa proseso na nagsisik na kami ng particular details na sino yun na kausap namin, can we get the name, address. Siyempre for validation purposes din po. Hindi na po sila willing. So ang gusto nila puro anonymous tip lang, puro anonymous information. Which as far as we are concerned, hindi po masyadong nagagamit yan para sa amin. Kung halimbawa nga we intend to file actions or we pursue legal remedies, ano po. Yan po yung mga isa sa mga challenges na na-encounter namin during the past elections wherein the IBP or even kami po, lawyers in particular, in our own personal capacities also when we do volunteer work, na-experience po namin yan. So, as of the moment, so we are concentrating on the pre-election campaign po ng COMELEC to help them doon sa kanilang information drive. Thank you.
Salamat po. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Dahil ako po ay dutiful student, tingnan ko po yung article last year para lang to check ano yung progress. And may 10 na siyempre so yung number 1, let barangay and SK elections proceed on December 5. Natuloy naman po siya, pero ngayon lang, ngayong October 30. Early preparation, naglabas na po ng TOR si COMELEC sa halos lahat. including online voting, improve access of election monitors sa COMELEC activities. Okay naman po, pero siguro si Sir dito ang mag-expound pa sa improve access. More inclusive voter registration process. Hindi pa po natin nakita, but we're hoping that the RAP program or the Register Anywhere program of COMELEC would be continued and expanded for the continuation of the registration by January next year for the 2025 midterm elections. For the Campaign Finance Office as a permanent office, may movement dyan, naging department siya, yung PFAD, Political Finance and Affairs Department. Yung ask lang natin, more permanent and competent personnel, yung pa yung hindi natin nakikita. But at least it's a right step for a more directed effort towards monitoring campaign finance and our political parties. Review spending limits, pre-election online campaigning. Forever pending and pending pa rin to sa Congress natin yung increase na spending limit. But for COMELEC, it's really good that we hear from them that they're monitoring also the online activities of our barangay and SK candidates. Kasama po yan sa monitoring nila ng premature campaigning. So we welcome that because before, in previous elections, iffy pa si COMELEC walang direct statement saying that they will monitor online campaign activities. But now, for the Barangay and SK, we're happy to hear COMELEC saying that they will go after even yung mga nagka-campaign online. Laws and vote buying, nabanggit ni Director Maying sa Task Force Contra Bigay. And ngayon lang natin narinig si COMELEC adopting a whole-of-nation approach na hindi lang prosecution yung gagawin nila. May deterrence, may ngumingiti si Sir Louie. May deterrence, may information dissemination, and may prosecution. So, yung Task Force Contra Bigay, led by Commissioner Maceda, they really adopted more nuanced approach to combating vote buying and vote selling, given na hindi lang naman problema ng eleksyon ang vote buying. As to the anti-political dicey provision in the party list law, I would mention this dun sa election challenge, improve access to candidates' information. Yung mandating LGUs to provide office spaces, unfortunately, nauna po yung COMELEC National Office, pending pa rin po yung bill na yan providing office space, na si COMELEC na yung magpo-provide office space sa kanilang field offices. One urgent pending assignment, as said in this article of PCIJ, is yung IRR ng Bangsamoro Electoral Code. Up to now, wala pa rin siya. Wala kami naririnig na movement sa party COMELEC. We're hearing movements and of course, alam naman po namin to na merong IRR na sa part ng Parliament. Pero we're expecting that COMELEC will take the lead on crafting the IRR for the Bangsamoro Electoral Code. Yung sa election challenges po, if you would take a look at this Congress, wala talaga pa masyado appetite for the passage of election-related bills. Kasi for example, sa House, tapos na po sa third reading yung early voting for PWDs, for senior citizens. Tapos na rin sa third reading yung increased spending limit. But if you take a look at the movement at the Senate level, ang daming hearings particular to the new Omnibus Election Code. Pero hearings pa lang siya, unlike the House na natapos na sa third reading. So, yun yung problem namin kasi walang movement pa at the Senate level. Sa youth political participation, just to share po, we have an ongoing youth political participation program in Lente. Yung nakakatuwa po, in the 10 coalitions that we've managed to organize the past 2 years, ang problema namin, walang natira sa coalition kasi halos lahat sila tumakbo. Pero may ano po yan pero kailangan din i-balance siya. Kasi yung mga taong parte po ng coalitions, ito yung mga interesado na talaga but they're the minority in the space, in the communities. If you take a look at the youth-led survey commissioned by the Asia Foundation a few years ago or 2 years ago, malaki po talaga yung disinterest ng mga kabataan sa pagpasok sa politika. So I'm very happy to hear Father Tony saying na ma-maximize na yung Young David's program in steering the interest of our young people in engaging more in politics. Kasi sa ngayon po, mas pa rin traditional yung engagement sa politics, sa public education, engagement with the LYDO, but running for office, ano pa po yan, nasa baba ng priorities ng mga kabataan natin. Lastly, yung ASR po, we're monitoring ASR, abuse of state resources. Itong problema na to, laging na-mention sa election pero wala pa masyado pag-aaral. So we're continuing our study on ASR, abuse of state resources, in election and its effect after election. So ano po yung effect ng ASR sa governance? Because after the 2022 elections, we found out na malaki yung effect niya sa mga contractuals o yung mga job orders. Kasi nakaka-apekto kung nanalo ba yung incumbent or natalo siya. So yung mga job orders mawawalan ng trabaho pag natalo yung incumbent. Nagkakaroon ng effect sa governance if there's a change in leadership and yung mga leaders sa departments identified to the previous administration. We've seen how these employees were placed in floating status. So nakaka-affect rin siya sa governance. So yun lang po, madami na ata ako nasabi. Maraming salamat.
So, thank you for the invitation. First time ko to attend, ma'am. So, this year, as we prepare for the new generation of Filipinos to handle and stand guard in protecting our hard-won freedoms, no, as enshrined with the 1987 Constitution, we have to focus on the new challenges. So, thank you, Lente and IBP, for outlining what's happening on the ground. But we want to also focus on a global scale. We are beset by questions on fake news. So we have to create a space on the development of critical thinking, especially among the youth sector, because we have to have a forum where people can safely discuss different topics and the data that is being presented are verified and contextualized to combat fake news and creation of blind followers. Number two, we have to be able to flag the effects of the exploitative AI, especially now that there are apps like Remini that can actually edit the videos and take on the images of our public officials. So they can be subject of being misquoted or further used for disinformation. Having said this, we want to have a centralized group that could verify the veracity of the votes being casted. So aside from veracity of the information, also during the time of elections, it might not be a focus now because SK is still manual, but in the national elections, it's already IT-driven. So we need more IT professionals in our fold because we cannot act on the technical items, no? And we hope that they will be able to lend their expertise, or the civil society groups would have more drive to include the IT professionals. So similar to how NAMFRE, Lente, and other civil society groups have mobilized this team to monitor the ballots on the ground, I hope we can have these IT professionals as a standby. We also have to safeguard against foreign countries deploying threat actors to our local and national elections. We have seen reports, for example, this is happening to the US, and we have also experienced the effects of Cambridge Analytica. So as civil society, it presents a question, how are we safeguarding ourselves against this? In line with this, we are also focused on the realization that the digitalization of money, currency also is used in other countries as authoritarian forces to deploy funds for bribery and corruption that threatens our election process. So we want to be able to talk with the financial technology companies so that funding for illegal transactions or for vote buying may be monitored. If they can be tapped and made part of these endeavors, the better. After all, these companies with good governance structure and ideals have been proven over time to be more profitable than the less reputable ones. Fifth point, we have to be mindful of the new regulations, especially for cascading it to our partners. Yung new regulations like the Supreme Court Amendment on the Rules of Procedure for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataang election contest. So I hope that we could have a common chat like Telegram, Viber, so that the new updates can easily be digested. I mean, we can keep on the traditional publication on our websites, but we also have to be tech savvy considering we want to get new volunteers I know that many people have devoted their lives following martial law and stuff, but we have to also encourage and bring new blood to the fold. So thank you, Father Antonio, that it's very reassuring to hear that Caritas is taking the lead. So similar to Christian groups that they have servant leadership programs, although not yet directed to politics, it also brings to mind that maybe we should also expand the reach not just on Catholic groups but also with the other religious organizations. So as early as now, we want to encourage the younger generation to be more wary and watchful, so that the collective national memory is at risk of being erased given amendments on the upcoming curriculum being pushed at the DepEd level. We have to be able to pick a fire in their souls and let them appreciate the freedom that we appreciate today is vulnerable and needs to be protected. Yan lang po.
We've talked about the COMELEC program Kontra Bigay. And I think one of the focus areas in our roundtable last year was how do we address vote buying? Are we optimistic about Kontra Bigay? And maybe other issues on the barangay elections that we're missing because it's going to happen next month already. We know there are so many killings also happening where barangay officials are victims. So let's start our roundtable talking about the barangay elections muna siguro.
Test, yung committee on Kontra Bigay test case yan. It's the first time that the COMELEC is doing it. But okay yung the COMELEC resolution, but the question is on the implementation. First is yung organizational structure. Ano ba yung expectation sa civil society? Second, ang daming presumptions, no, na pwede siyang i-contest. So how is COMELEC going to handle those? Third is may condition, may requirement, meron din siyang provision for witness protection because we expressed the concern, the reason why cases are not filed or they just die, no, when the COMELEC finds basis, no, to prosecute, is ang primary concern namin is the safety and security of the witness. Not only of the witness himself, but the family or even extended family. Kasi sa local sila di ba?
We asked this because in the past elections, we know there are already videos circulating, but everybody's saying we cannot file cases unless the one who took the video will testify.
Tinitingnan ko yung structural dun sa vote buying. So, ang parang vulnerable area siya is if those who give the money are able to trace how the vote turned out. Meron silang middle person, di ba, barangay captain for example, no. Bigyan mo ng pera, sabihan mo sa kanya, ikaw ang bahala i-convert to votes. So pag habang natitrace yan siya, maging weak si barangay captain. Ano lang, hindi kailang barangay captain, I'm just using that for convenience, but I'm not alluding that they're the ones in the middle. So, tingin ko kung if there's a way to ensure that di matrace yung pera at conversion to votes, baka pwede.
I don't know how we can help as a church, no, our network, no, kasi we have 85 social action centers in the Philippines. In every diocese we have a social action center or Caritas center. How we can mobilize our people on the ground on this, no. But my question is this, I think the same question. What are the safety measures for our people who will get involved in this activity? We know already the security problem, no? So yan ang isang question ko diyan. Anong mechanism? Baka mapapasubo natin yung maraming tao na wala naman tayong security measures, no? In case there will be mga sabi natin mga problema in the engagement.
Kayo rin po ang makakapag-witness ng election violence on the ground. Ano po ba ang sitwasyon? We're nearing the barangay elections. There have been reports. Kumusta po ang election violence?
Magulo kasi mga kamag-anak, mga magkakaibigan, no? And may mga barangay kami, may patayan. The situation now, alam niyo mga kandidato, mga manok ngayon yan ng mga politiko. Either congressman, ni mayor. That's very, very, very clear. And they pour in money. They pour in money in that. So, they're very subtle ngayon. They're becoming experts in vote buying. Hindi na yung cash to na online na. I don't know how we will monitor that, no? What we are trying to do, we mobilize people to document silently. Documentation is important. So our justice and peace groups are being tasked to document. Simple lang, simple data gathering. Parang ginawa namin noon sa EJK. Nag-document lang kami tapos tinago namin yung mga documents in case we need these documents, naka-ready. Parang ganon. Not right away exposing, people. Baka we cannot protect them. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, no? But so far that's our initiatives.
So it really shows that it's not a simple issue. It can happen right in front of us, but if no one is willing to testify, we can document, but if that documentation will not be accepted in courts.
Ang realidad po kasi sa pagpa-file ng kaso, kung hindi mo naman yan buhay o hindi yan yung ginagawa mo sa araw-araw, lalo na ikaw ay normal na tao na may day job, after elections, lahat halos nawawalan na interes eh. Doon sa tanong mo, Carmela, ano yung hope? Kami hopeful kami kasi in the discussions of COMELEC for Kontrabigay, ang malaki talagang role ay mga pulis. And yung pulis, in one of the consultations, sinabi nila, ang problema nila, pag may kaso na sa fiscal, hinahanapan sila doon sa warrantless arrest. Meron ngayong development, hopefully, sumunod po lumabas na po to, mag-i-issue ng resolution si COMELEC for the guidelines on warrantless arrest. Para at least mayroon pong document na pangahawakan yung mga pulis natin when they go after the vote buyers and the vote sellers. And when the case is filed, meron din silang sasabihin kay fiscal na merong resolution si COMELEC on this guidelines. Yun nga lang, kailangan pa rin natin mabantayan na hindi ito maabuso. Of course, given the track record, ngayon, lalo na, madayo tayong nakikita ng mga abuso. So, we need to see that this guidelines or this regulation is not abused. And we also would want to see na hindi lang foot soldiers yung makakasuhan. We would want to go after yung mga principals po. Kasi pag foot soldier, ano lang yan eh. Yan lang po.
To me, it's more the perspective than enforcement. Ang pinag-uusapan sa kontrabigay kasi, enforcement. Of course, very important ang enforcement. Pag may nakulong, malaking deterrence yan. Pero maganda yung tanong ni ma'am, deterrence ba talaga the way it's being done? Saka, kung IBP, may legal aid, may question ako doon. Paano kung ang lumapit sa inyo yung hinuli ng vote buying? Di ba? Siya yung mahirap. Hinuli ako, kinulong ako kasi tumanggap daw ako ng what? So, sino i-represent natin? Kontrabigay is dapat i-prosecute yung vote buying. Paano, ano yung kan? Pero, pag tingnan mo dapat yung vote buying, yung buyer talaga ang kwan dito kasi siya yung nakikinabang eh. Pero hindi sa vote buying tinitingnan yung anggulong yun, kundi saan galing yung pera niya na pambili. At bakit siya bumibili ng kwan? Kasi siguro, kaya ngayon, abuse of state resources to me is very important. Kasi that is what I want to look at rather than vote buying. I'll just make vote buying less effective. Pangalawa, if it's enforcement, yung concept kasi ng vote buying is a crime. It's like pickpocket. It's like hold up. So, hindi mo kailangang asahan ng COMELEC para ma-enforce ang vote buying. Hindi trabaho ng COMELEC pag crime na yon. It's a law enforcement problem. So pulis yan. Piskal yan. Ngayon nga, pwedeng preliminary investigation kahit piskal yan eh. You don't have to go through COMELEC. So if it is looked at as an ordinary crime in election, it should not just be a problem of COMELEC. It's a law enforcement problem.
We want to talk about other ways we could deter the exchange of money from even happening.
So, sinabi niyo abuse of state resources. It's part and parcel of the Anti-Money Laundering Act that we have the suspicious transaction for reporting. So, it's not just reliant on the threshold of 500,000 and above to be reported to the AMLC. In fact, each compliance officer of each financial institution has to report suspicious transactions. So, the threshold for suspicious transaction is really very low. Like, the source of income cannot be justified. So, especially now in the Philippines, we are in the gray list. And part of the international community ask is to see whether or not the Philippines, while it tracks suspicious transactions, is it able to prosecute suspicious transaction done by individuals. So it's part and parcel of the question. Can we, like, in the same way that we have this type of fora, maybe we can also invite the electronic money issuers and the financial technology communities to engage us. My position here is that if we are able to put them in the fold or make them aware that these are something that they should also flag. Engage the compliance officers, because usually each fintech company has a compliance department. It has an AML team, anti-money laundering team, that actually focuses on monitoring day-to-day transactions. And if this can be included as part of the scenarios to flag. For example, in the normal context, they flag already online sellers because these people don't pay taxes. They don't have BIR registrations. So if there are transactions that are online in nature, the AML officers usually investigate or call, even though it's on a sampling basis. There's a deterrence because you don't want to get a call from your related bank, because at the end of the day, it passes through a bank after the financial fintech. No, so you don't want it. Also inconveniences them because the entire amount can be frozen, not just in your account, not just the transaction itself. So those things are immediate in nature, and these are already available as a mechanism. We just have to be able to tap them.
The 2025 elections, because we have to talk about the procurement of the machines, because the process has already started. The TOR was finalized in July. We have 4 who participated in the market survey. That's Smartmatic, Dominion, Pivot, and Miru. And according to the chairman, they're expecting up to 10 companies that will participate in a project that is expected to cost 19 billion pesos based on the National Expenditure Program. But whether that will be approved by Congress is another matter. So I think do we have information about these companies? How satisfied are we with the process of COMELEC in procuring the machines? What should we be watching out against? What should we be supporting?
Challenge pa rin doon sa procurement are the 2 things. Yung requirement under 9369, RA 9369, that the system procured must have been used in prior elections. Second is yung meeting the threshold of 50% of the approved budget for contract. But monitoring the procurement itself, ang daming stages niyan, ano? Or ang daming, kasi ang daming pinoprocure na related materials. Not only the automated election system itself, but including pati services. The other problem is, kaunti lang yung nag-o-observe ng procurement process, yung each bidding, no? each bidding exercise, kaunti lang yung ano. Kasi nga, mas technical yung, ano, yung items to repurchase. No? So, siguro isang challenge yan. We have to ask the IT organization siguro to participate more, no, in observing the bidding process. And basically, ang kailangan din is more education on the understanding of the automated election system. Very few people, and it remains as a technology issue. Yung, kahit yung technologists, hindi lahat yan nakakaintindi because they, you know, not all IT professionals understand the elections. Okay, they may understand the technology, but they do not understand the elections. But you have to have an understanding of both.
The COMELEC is pushing for, and this is going to be a topic in Senate, because COMELEC is pushing for a dual feature. The machine will have an OMR technology, but also the DRE option. I think Senator Pimentel is questioning this. Why would a machine have the dual feature? We've been using OMR technology in our national elections. We've had DRE technology in the BARM elections in 2008. Any thoughts on this dual feature pushed by the COMELEC? And what do we think of this? Attorney Ona.
Siguro yung sa akin lang, transparency naman is always should be the standard when it comes to procurement. Pero as to the importance of yung procurement ng machines, lalo na may nasa horizon na bago yan, so it's very important na matapos lahat yan. Pero compliant with, of course, with our laws. Dahil magdedepende naman yan sa public education. We've been using machines since 2010, 2036, 2019. So 5 elections na, nasanay tayong OMR. Tapos if we'll be using a new machine for 2025, so there's a need to have a massive voters education again as to what the voters will see on election day. So yun siguro yung concern ko dyan if ever mababago. Mayroong karampatan na sana madaming pang time and may time for rollout of the public education.
According to COMELEC, they would want to have selected the winning bidder before the end of the year. Even if we know that the budget will probably be approved by end of the year, pwedeng ang notice to proceed daw ay by January. But at least we know by the end of the year which company will provide the machines. And that will make time for preparations, test, mock polls next year. But we don't know. There's a threat that if the TOR, if they don't like the double feature, does that mean they're going to change the TOR of the fully automated elections? And how will that threaten the schedule of the COMELEC? And what happens to 2025 if we're still not able to select a winning bidder by early next year?
May ano naman yan drop dead deadline.
Deadline.
Merong drafted deadline kasi hindi nasunod yung never
Yes.
nasunod yun.
Nangyari naman yan in the past di ba? Ibig sabihin, hanggang dito na lang tayo. Kung may papalitan pa dyan sa TOR, hanggang dito na lang tayo. Yan yung drop dead deadline
Hindi rin siguro natin pwedeng hindi pag-usapan the questions about the IP addresses used by COMELEC in 2022. So if we could ask you to comment on that, the civil society groups have issued statements also.
It's the medium and the message. The medium is the internet. The message is the election returns. Yan yung dumaan dun sa internet. So magkaiba yung issues na yun. No? Also, we have to consider it is the way how the internet was designed to work, how it is designed to operate. No? The question, the IP address 192.168.0.2, no, so everybody's familiar with that now, yung IP address na yan. I mean, do you understand what an IP address is? Okay. Absent ka na. It's like this. Most, if not all of us here may subscriptions sa fiber, no, may router tayo sa bahay, no? you're using IP addresses as well. Baka hindi nyo lang alam. Sa phone, let's say dito sa iOS or maybe Android, you can actually check what your IP address is. No? So, sa bahay, ganun din. You connect several devices dun sa Wi-Fi router. Each of the device that you connect to that router is given an IP address, private. But for that to go out into the internet, kailangan ma-map ko siya, ma-assign yung router ng public IP address. It's the public IP address that will carry the message. No?
Yun yung shared.
Yun yung shared. Okay. Now, ang sinasabi ni TN Trio is na manipulate yung setup ng internet. Okay? I don't know. Kung yung pag-manipulate na is violative, because the internet is actually a set of rules how devices will communicate with one another regardless of the technology. So technology agnostic siya. So you might have an iOS talking to an Android via the internet. So following the rules, the protocol, mag-uusap sila. Okay. So yun ang sinasabi ni General Rio, na manipulate yung internet such that merong local area network that acted like a man-in-the-middle device na siya yung nagpapadala ng messages. As opposed to ano ba yung message? The message is the election return. The other allegation of General Rio is that merong spurious ERs generated by a VCM that has been pre-programmed. And we interpreted the term pre-programmed VCM as the program having been manipulated such that it will generate spurious ERs. No? The other twin allegation there is preloaded daw yung SD cards. No? This stems from our finding, NAMFL's finding, of a discrepancy on the VCM hash code. So we reported that as well. No? Nandun yun sa report nung page 50 or 51. Okay. So in-associate nila doon. Ang sabi nila Rio, sinabi nung NAMFREL na merong kaming nakitang software na manipulated. We did not say that. What we said was iba yung hash code. No? So there's the different. Para sa amin is show us a spurious ER and that will resolve everything kung tama o mali yung sinasabi nila. Because yung root, never mind the medium, nagdala lang yan eh. Di ba? Dumaan lang yan sa kalye. Pero yung message mismo, is it legitimate or was it spurious? That's the question.
Did the message change when it passed through
Yes.
the medium?
Kailangan ipakita mo yun. Yung allegation nga na may spurious ER, may allegation na ganun, pero hindi naman pinapakita yung spurious ER.
So they have to show that.
Yes. Ultimately, nandun yung proof. So yung suggestion namin is, out of the 20,300 VCMs or ballot boxes, identify nyo yung 20,300 na yan, no? Mag-sampling tayo doon, and then mag-manual count tayo ng laman na balota para ma-resolve nga yung issue. Kung mag-cut, parang yung RMA na ginawa, no?
Yeah.
Para kung magkakatapat. In the end, yun nga, yung RMA, 99.95%. So,
Almost 100% ang result ng random manual audit.
Correct.
And the watchdogs have issued statements regarding the random manual audit.
It's too technical for many and for me and for everyone. It's really moving forward. It's really being more transparent and engaging. Technology is supposed to make things more efficient. But let us admit that komplikado yung ating eleksyon. Isa tayo sa pinakamalaking eleksyon, synchronous pa. Yung sabay-sabay. Yun nga sabi ni Telebert, sa ibang bansa hinihiwalay ang local at kwan. Parang one of the few countries tayo na ganun kalaki yung voting population na sabay-sabay. Tapos ang tradition pa natin, nilalagay sa isang balota, at kasi efficiency, but that's very complicated. So ang ibig ko sabihin, parang if we want kasi may kalakip na problema yung pag hindi ka gumamit ng technology pagkatapos ganun yung electoral system mo na hindi mo maiiwasan. Kasi yun yung constitution yun yung design. Marami siyang problemang gagawin. So gumamit ka ng makina para ma-address yung mga ibang problema. Pero paggamit ng makina, napalitan yung transparency kasi instead of nakikita mo ng mata at nahahawakan mo ng kamay, aasa ka sa isang makina na gagawin niyang mas efficient. So may value yan. Ano ba ang titingnan mo, ito o ito? Pero yung transparency naman, pwedeng magkaroon ng ibang ng transparency like siguro yung resulta, bigyan mo ng copy ng resulta as many stakeholders na. So may ability lahat ng na i-duplicate yung proseso, yung redundancy. So there are ways to make things transparent even in a system where you use technology. Yun lang yung kandor. Pero pag gagawin yun in a 3-year cycle, napaka-komplikado. Dapat yung timing mo matindi.
Well, in our petition for accreditation, actually, we requested the commission for certain data sets, lalo na yung associated with the automated election system. And this includes, among others, yung telco logs na hiningi namin. So I think there are 30 plus data sets that we requested COMELEC for, no? Pero ang grinant lang sa amin is access to the electronic, via the electronic ER via the transparency server. Yun
So
lang.
we need more transparency.
Yes. Kasi kung maibigay lahat yung datos na hiningi namin, actually we can replay the elections. No? It's complicated, but it gives you an opportunity to see. Although, again, yung transparency would be post-elections.
I just don't want to drop this, Attorney Ona. We talked about the IRR of the Bangsamoro Electoral Code. Ang question ko lang is, meron bang drop-dead deadline for that IRR? We know that there are in talks. There is a draft, they're talking, but we don't see the final form yet. But when is the drop-dead deadline for this IRR?
Napasa kasi yung BARM Electoral Code March Na-publish siya April. So, siguro 3 months. Dapat ngayon lumabas na siya. May 90 days kasi na requirement for the IRR. Yun nga lang. Yun nga po, sir. Pero sir, baka yung usual yung ginagamit nila dyan. Pero wala pa yung may mga provisions kasi na particular to the elections.
The districts also.
Wala pa redistricting law kasi wala yan man yan sa electoral code ng BARM So, urgent na yan Dapat this quarter lumabas.
Yeah, because we get asked what is the likely result of the elections, but if we don't know how the districts will be divided, how can we even begin to
It's
understand?
a very political issue sa BARM Para mauuna ang revenue code, mauuna ang governance code before the redistricting because it's a question of territory Para the parliament will talk with the political families on how to apportion the 32 districts in BARM. Walang magbibigay dyan Kaya nahuhuli ang redistricting law. But urgent ang redistricting law kasi kailangan rin ni COMELEC yan.
So BARM obviously is an important election.
Is kasi just like yung sa automated election, the stakeholders should be informed ahead para dun alam nila yung rules of the game sa voters' education.
And it's a parliamentary
And sa
form
system
of
to be
government.
used kasi
So
parliamentary elections, paano preparation ni COMELEC?
this have to be resolved at least within the year,
Within the year, dapat.
Earlier.
But I want to give the microphone to Wing. She'll talk about a little bit about media issues, transparency, and FY that we want to also in this conversation.
Well, elections are always important for journalists, no? Ito raw yung yung measurement ng isang journalist, how they cover elections. At ang laging issue namin diyan is FOI. Yung access sa documents, access sa coverage, Kasi merong ding instances in the past elections where journalists were actually not allowed inside the voting area. Hindi naman presinto yung mismong voting area lang, even the schools. So parang lagi-laging issue. Tapos kung narinig niyo yung usapin tungkol sa blotter recently, there was a journalist who was arrested and jailed for trying to access. Trying to access pa lang yung police blotter. And parang nagiging trend ito ngayon sa mga government offices, lalo na sa PNP, ng pag-deny ng access sa media. Laging dahilan yung Data Privacy Act. So tingin namin pagdating ng eleksyon, magiging paborito to na dahilan for denying access sa mga media. So yun yung isang problema. Sa mga journalist, lalo na sa probinsya, sila kasi yung walang access. And then ang mga lawyers, pagdating ng eleksyon, lawyers sila ng mga kandidato. So you can't really expect them to help the journalist kasi it would be against the interest of their clients. May problema lagi sa lawyers, yung journalists, which discourages them from doing more aggressive news gathering kasi alam nila na pag kinasuhan sila, medyo magkakaproblema sila sa legal assistance. Although we have organizations now that have forged agreements with lawyers groups na nakakatulong naman ngayon. So, IBP, this is one, the National Union of People's Lawyers, FLAG, etc. But there are still areas na mahirap siya. So that affects also access to information. So yun. May mga dati ring experiences sa eleksyon na nabubugbog yung mga journalists. Meron ding instance, for example, sa Camiguin na hindi makalabas ng island yung isang team na nag-cover kasi nagalit sa kanila yung isang kandidato na nanalo actually later. So, nakulong sila doon sa island. We had to send a quick reaction team para i-rescue sort of yung mga journalists na nandun. So, we have a lot of issues pagdating ng election. We're hoping na, of course, Lente has always been a partner. Documentation is one basic requirement dun sa mga incidents na yon. Whether denial of access to information, actual threats, actual physical attacks. And we document those and then release a report afterwards. Pero usually, after the elections. Ano pa? Malaking tulong yung international community. So doing alerts immediately when an incident happens, nakakatulong siya ng malaki. Kasi sa experience namin magmula nung NUJP pa ako, kapag may reaction yung international community, nagkakaroon ng response yung gobyerno. So that's a good technique actually. It's a good strategy para magkaroon ng response. In fact, the very first task force that was created under Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo was in response to international fact-finding mission reports on the killing of journalists. So, maganda yung i-involve yung international groups when incidents happen. And I think kahit sa election, maganda siyang Yes, sir.
Doon lang sa coverage, election coverage, we found na kailangan siguro ng journalists ng education about the electoral process, that's one. Second, about the automated elections. And third, even the manual elections. Kasi itong, like say for example, upcoming BSKE is manual, except for 3 barangays. 2 sa Cavite, sa Dasmariñas, Cavite, and isa sa Quezon City. No? Where the COMELEC will pilot test the automated BSKE. So kailangan maintindihan din ng journalists yung electoral process, how the automated election system works, as well as the manual election system.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much. We accomplished a lot today in terms of commitments, and hopefully we can have more conversations and we can realize all of these plans. So thank you very much. We'll see you in the next roundtable.